Welcome to a series of conversations called My Lourdes Story, where I'll be talking to various people about their Lourdes experience and what Lourdes means to them. I'm Joan Cahill, and I've spent a lot of time over the last few years in Lourdes, a place that is very special to me. I'm talking today to Eddie Golden. Eddie travels to Lourdes with the Cashel and Emily Diocese and has been travelling to Lourdes every year since 1995. So thank you, Eddie, for agreeing to talk to me today.
Great, Joan, and it's a great pleasure to be able to talk to you this evening.
So before we talk about Lourdes, Eddie, will you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm the eldest of a family of 5 boys. I grew up near a place called Rockwell College down in Tipperary. I suppose after school, I actually went to work in Rockwell as a Dean of Discipline, which will probably be obvious later on in the conversation how I used those skills. And then I joined on Garda Síochána then in 1994, and I've been in the Guards ever since. And 3 of my other brothers as well. So 4 out of the 5 of us joined the Guards. So we're a big Guard family.
Yeah. So I know you went to Lourdes, Eddie, for the first time in 1995. So will you tell me about that visit and what the reason why you went?
Well, I probably was kind of fell into the Lourdes whole experience by default. A very good friend of mine is a lady that actually some of your listeners will probably know as Caroline Traynor. So Caroline, we went to school together, and her brother's one of my best friends. So her mother put my name forward, didn't tell me anything about it, decided that I would be, maybe it was more good for me than good for Lourdes for me to go. I don't know. But I ended up putting my name forward, got selected to go as a male helper. So I went in 1995 as a male helper. I suppose, look, it probably hit a lot of the things that I love to do. I'm obviously very outgoing and love being involved in the community, but also then a bit of music. I'm a musician for many, many years and proficient number of instruments, and you know how Lourdes and music works as well. So, the first year when I went out there, it was just such a brilliant experience. I don't think I slept for the 5 days, being honest. I think I just stayed up for 5 days, enjoyed every minute of it. Absolutely look forward to going back. And look, I've been fortunate enough to be able to go back then, obviously multiple times since. Something
brings you back all the time, really, doesn't it? And you told me that you took over from Sister Joan about 20 years ago. You took over in a new role as in charge of the youth group. Will you talk to us about that?
Well, I always had an interest in the youth side of the pilgrimage, and the youth group at the time was quite small, something around 15 to 20 students that were taken from all the schools around, maybe fifth year at the time. I suppose by default I fell in with them because at the time they had 2 Garda students who used to travel from the Garda College as part of their placements. So, I would always be probably trying to mind the students as well and give them advice. So I fell into it a little bit like that. And then probably roughly around 20 years ago, the opportunity came. They were looking for somebody to take it over. And I stepped in as the youth director. Over the years, I obviously would have had a spiritual director with me as well. And I'm very fortunate at the moment actually to have a very good friend of mine, Father Pat Coffey, as a spiritual director. And we would have gone to school together and sat in the same class in secondary school back in the day. So our paths have met now again in the youth area. So that's really where it came from. I suppose the interest I had in the youth was I could also obviously see that the youth groups out there were so important to the assisted pilgrims and to the general, I suppose, community that travels to Lourdes. They all want to see the young people, and I suppose over the years I've seen some of the transformations that some people have been very shy and reserved, and by the end of the 5 days, they've developed into young adults. So it is very, very satisfying work.
Oh, and they add so much to the pilgrimage, don't they, Eddie?
Yeah, and it's something that I suppose we've grown now into probably we had nearly 80 students with us the last time we travelled to Lourdes. And also then I have a great team of youth leaders that come with me. So like everything else, it's great to take the praise at the end of it all when it goes well, but it's not me, it's everybody else that goes with me. Over the years, I've had some of my brothers have travelled as youth leaders and have gone out there as well as helpers as well. I've had some great people with me, and the satisfaction really is just trying to, I suppose, instill a bit of spirituality into young people, but giving them the skills to actually interact with their communities when they come home. So I always say this to the parents that I'm going to change your young person fundamentally forever, and they're going to come home and they're going to want to tidy their room and they're going to want to help all over the house. And you know what? It does happen, because when they come home, they do visit and they do feel far more comfortable and confident about visiting elderly people or people living alone in their communities. And I think, look, that's really good. That's really good. And it gives them an opportunity to show that if you help a little bit, how much satisfaction you can get out of it. And we all know that. It's a life lesson, really, at a very early stage, and Lourdes give that to them.
It's so good for them as well, Eddie. And a lot of them then come back then in later years and as helpers themselves, really, don't they?
Yeah, and it has been difficult over the years to try and filter them back into coming back as nurses or handmaids or male brancardier. But it has happened very successfully. And okay, you have the odd person like me who give it a long commitment for, 25 years or so. But there's other people who give a commitment for 1 or 2 years and 3 years. And they're just as important, those people who can give their time and come back as helpers and give that little bit. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to be given the responsibility of taking a group. And not everybody wants to take a youth group to Lourdes. It's difficult. But, the other thing I've developed is really good child protection guidelines and guidance. And I suppose myself, I could see what was needed. And my job obviously helps me, I suppose, 20 years ago, I was thinking about child protection and looking at developing systems in place that was going to safeguard everybody on the pilgrimage, particularly the young people. So over the years, I've developed a really good program where we meet them a couple of times before we go. We don't just meet them at the airport and bring them out, and give them the necessary, I suppose, preparation so that they get the most out of their 5 days.
And Eddie, I know you were there in Lourdes at the time of the really bad flooding back in 2013, and I know you had to evacuate the hotel you were in. That must have been fairly scary, with a load of youth with you.
Yeah, 2013 was one of those years. We went out thinking it was going to be a normal 5 days. After day one, it looked like the weather, I could see the water rising, we all could. And I know there's a picture taken at one stage, and I'm beside the Mediterranean Hotel, and the river was just coming up to the edge there, and a couch passed down past us, and there was a tree past us. And, at that stage, I had the feeling things weren't going to go great. Within half an hour of that, we were evacuated out of the Mediterranean, and we know the Alba and the Mediterranean, which we'd have stayed in over the years. They went underwater. We evacuated then to the Aegina, and we spent, I suppose, we thought at that stage we were safe enough in the Aegina, but unfortunately the water actually came up as well, up at the bridge, and flooded the Aegina. We actually were part of the rescue effort, because we actually rescued people in the Aegina that night and brought people out through water. The youth helpers and the youth themselves actually carried bags and brought people to safety. I think it was late in the night now at this stage. By the time we actually were asked to leave the Aegina, I was asked by the local fire service then to evacuate up out of the town altogether. And I actually took a big stand, Joe, and I said, no, I'm not going. I said, it was too uncertain for me. I had all these young people. I was trying to mind them. So we ended up in the lobby of the Solitude Hotel, because I knew a lot of our pilgrims were there. And the management there were fabulous. And they actually put us and got us rooms eventually about maybe 3 a.m. in the morning. And the rest then is history insofar as it was devastating for the people of Lourdes that time. And you have to remember as well, John, as you know, all these hotel staff are our friends now. And they're, we've been going back so many years that we know the people nearly in the shops at this stage. And it's very important that at that stage we knew it was devastating for them. Look, we got through it. Look, it was one of those things. I hope it never happens again. Hopefully we learn from it.
I know you're a great man for the music, and I believe you entertain everybody down in the Akai when you're there.
Yeah, I suppose the music was something, as I said, from day one when Lourdes came about, ticked so many boxes for me personally that I was able to give back at different levels. Music is something which, when you join the Guards, I remember people telling me you'll have to give up the music now because, you won't be able to play music. And I was saying, why not? And in fairness, I've kind of proved them wrong, whoever said that from day one, because at every stage of my career now, in Lourdes, I'm playing music. When it comes to the senior citizens parties or the senior parties around the county, I do a lot of those myself and I play for those. And even from charity concerts, playing with the Garda Band and singing a few songs. So, music is a great forum, Joan. It really means an awful lot to me personally. It's a way of giving back. So yeah, from playing at the ceremonies to doing the pray all day, party all night scenario, which I don't know if you can say that anymore, but it's important to have a good working balance and a praying balance, I think.
And Eddie, what is it about Lourdes that keeps you coming back all the time?
I think the whole sense of community, and also, I suppose, when we do talk about why we're there because we're bringing sick people with us, people who are, suffering in different ways, maybe not physically, mentally. There's a lot of people suffering in silence. And you look at those people over the course of 5 days, and you know as well that some of the people who go, it might be they're only 5 days away for that full year. It's the only time they're going to have a holiday. Yeah, we always use the expression they're the VIPs for the 5 days. And it's so important word that the assisted pilgrims are looked after so well. And that we also, I suppose, give them the best experience possible. So Lourdes is, people talk about the miracles of Lourdes. I think the miracle of Lourdes to me is the hope it brings to people. Yeah. The people find that, they find themselves in a maybe a dark place, but they look around and they say, you know what? I'm not that bad. Things are not that bad. I have a hope of maybe getting better. There's a hope of, and if you don't, I suppose, help yourself and try and be positive, gives you that, I think, just an opportunity to, in your own head, focus positively, taking part in the ceremonies, praying to Our Lady. All that helps to instill a little bit of hope for everybody. So, it's really the hope I see in Lourdes over the years has always brought me back.
And there's a great sense of camaraderie as well with everybody, isn't there?
Yeah, it's it's part of the whole thing. It's like the parish moves out for the few days, and then we have these other groups that interact with us as well. As I said before, like there's some fantastic places in Lourdes to go, not just inside the domain, obviously outside as well. And one of the highlights for me is Bishop Kieran O'Reilly now is our bishop, obviously, and he's new enough to the group itself. But over the last number of years since Kieran has taken over, he has led the youth group on the walk to Bartrays. So we followed the pilgrim walk out there. We've done some really nice things, and that's a really special that the leader, I suppose, from a Christianity point of view in our diocese, takes the time out, comes down, talks to the youth, takes time with them. We get out to Bartrays then. Actually, it's quite a special time out there. So we share with them a letter from their parents that we have them do before they go out. So the youth don't really know that they're going to get this letter. The letter then is given to them, and it's an opportunity for their parents or guardians to actually say what they really feel and put it on paper. And, it's quite emotional, how much they love them, how much they are proud of them, how much they want for their future. And it's probably one of those times where they realise, that they're at that stage in their teenage years where they're quite rebellious, but they, you have to remember that your parents and your guardians, your family are behind you 100%, and it just reinforces that. So, there's very special moments like that. There's no money can pay for those moments where you just see those little, it's emotional, but it's also very, very rewarding. Father Pat Coffey that travels with me, like Pat covers that spiritual side of things so well. I'm more the practical side of things and keeping everything going and making sure we're all safe. So look, it works for us, Joan, and has been working for a number of years, and hopefully it's going to work for us into the future again.
That's beautiful. A beautiful idea, though, with the youth. I've never heard anything like that before. That's really, really beautiful. And you walk up to the mountains, Eddie. Is that when you're going up to Bartrays?
That's right. We go up past the dump there and up out of the town and take the country route, I suppose you'd call it there. Yeah. And it's lovely, and being honest, I've, as many times as I was in Lourdes up to this, it was only when Bishop Kieran decided to take us on this that we went that direction, because I'd have always tried to do something with the youth, bring them somewhere. Yeah. But this was far more special, and it's something that we've taken on board now, and it's really, really, really good for us. We also, of course, take part in the concert. I think we've been shut down by the guards a couple of times there now for going over a bit of time, but yourself in Lourdes, 5 or 10 minutes doesn't make too much of a difference. But
absolutely.
We've probably had so many experiences like that. And again, you're looking at people enjoying themselves, forgetting about their difficulties might be, and enjoying themselves. And to see the joy in their faces is just so rewarding.
And Eddie, your favourite place within the domain, within the gates of the domain?
Yeah, it's a good question, Joan. I personally like to go the Court Grot side of the grotto. So the far side, at times, even during the daytime, I find it can be quiet enough there that you can look across at the grotto, and the grotto, there might be ceremonies going on and it's very busy. But you do that, get that time. If I had 10 or 15 minutes to spare now, I'd sit on the benches there, looking into the river, looking across into the grotto. And obviously nighttime then is the other special place, and we all know that people like to go down. But I find during the daytime, that's very special for me. It gives me just that few moments to reflect on. Sometimes you reflect on the year gone by. Sometimes you reflect on the year to come. Sometimes you think about people that are not with you anymore. You're thinking about people that are not feeling well. So it's just a time, I suppose, to take a little time for yourself as well.
And I would agree with you about across the river, because, of course, that's where Bernadette was the last time she saw Our Lady. It was over there that she was. And I'd be like yourself, that would actually be one of my favourite places to sit as well and just look over. Eddie, it's been so lovely talking to you, really lovely. Can I ask you before we go to leave us with a thought for the day?
Yeah, I'm going to leave you with, it's kind of a line from a song, Joan, but it's what I actually like to say to you every now and again. So it says, you've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. You've got to be your own man, not a puppet on a string. Never compromise what's right and uphold your family's name. You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. And I suppose, look, when I'm looking at young people, I'm hopeful that they won't fall into things that, could go against them and stuff like that. But my experience with the youth is give them a bit of praise and they will follow you wherever you want. And I've great faith in the youth, and I've great faith, and everybody listening to this should have great faith in the great young people that we have in the country.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you.